Hey, fifth graders, and welcome to Ready, Set, Read Research in Writing for week 6. This is day 2, and today we're going to be doing our first read on the inventor Lewis Howard Latimer. So he was an important inventor that added to this world of inventions and the discovery process. So before we get started with the reading, please make sure that you have your week 6 at-home learning packet, a pen or a pencil, and some scratch paper. All right, go ahead and meet me on the first page of the reading about Lewis Howard Latimer. See you there. All right, fifth grade, thanks for joining me. So we're going to go ahead and read together the Lewis Howard Latimer biography. So make sure you're here with me in your packets and that you are tracking along. All right. Lewis Howard Latimer was an inventor and draftsman best known for his contributions to the patenting of the light bulb and the telephone. Who was Lewis Howard Latimer? Inventor and engineer Lewis Howard Latimer was born to parents who had fled slavery. Latimer learned the art of mechanical drawing while working at a patent firm. Over the course of his career as a draftsman, Latimer worked closely with Thomas Edison and Alexander Graham Bell, in addition to designing his own inventions. Early life and family. Latimer was born in Chelsea, Massachusetts, on September 4, 1848. Latimer was the youngest of 4 children, born to George and Rebecca Latimer, who had escaped from slavery in Virginia 6 years before his birth. Captured in Boston and brought to trial as a fugitive, George Latimer was defended by abolitionists Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison. He was eventually able to purchase his freedom with the help of a local minister and began raising a family with Rebecca in nearby Chelsea. George disappeared shortly after the Dred Scott decision in 1857, possibly fearing a return to slavery and the South. Helping to patent the telephone and light bulb. After his father's departure, Latimer worked to help support his mother and family. In 1864, at the age of 16, Latimer lied about his age in order to enlist in the United States Navy during the Civil War. Returning to Boston after an honorable discharge, he accepted a menial position at the Crosby and Gould Patent Law Office. He taught himself mechanical drawing and drafting by observing the work of draftsmen at the firm. Recognizing Latimer's talent and promise, the firm partners promoted him from office boy to draftsman. In addition to assisting others, Latimer designed a number of his own inventions, including an improved railroad car bathroom and an early air conditioning unit. Latimer's talents were well matched to the post-Civil War period, which saw a large number of scientific and engineering breakthroughs. Latimer was directly involved with one of these inventions, the telephone. Working with Bell, Latimer helped draft the patent for Bell's design of the telephone. He was also involved in the field of incandescent lighting, a particularly competitive field, working for Hiram Maxim and Edison. Latimer's deep knowledge of both patents and electrical engineering made Latimer an indispensable partner to Edison as he promoted and defended his light bulb design. In 1890, Latimer published a book entitled Incandescent Electric Lighting, a practical description of the Edison system. He continued to work as a patent consultant until 1922. Personal life and death. Latimer married Mary Wilson in 1873, and they had 2 daughters together. The Latimers were active members of the Unitarian Church, and Latimer was consistently involved in Civil War veterans groups, including the Grand Army of the Republic. In addition to his drafting skills, Latimer enjoyed other creative pastimes, including playing the flute and writing poetry and plays. In his spare time, he taught mechanical drawing and English to recent immigrants at the Henry Street Settlement in New York. Lewis Howard Latimer died on December 11, 1928, in Flushing, Queens, New York. His wife, Mary, predeceased him by 4 years. I loved learning about Lewis Howard Latimer and all of the ways that he contributed to the world of inventions and all of the hardships that he had to overcome to be included in that world. Now we're going to transition from our first read of Lewis Howard Latimer to answering the questions using evidence from the text. So these are text-based questions, and we are going to use the RACE strategy to create some evidence-based responses. We're going to start by going through the process that we used last week, and then I'm going to give you guys some time to practice using some specific steps with the RACE strategy for writing evidence-based responses. So again, meet me back in your packet. This time we're going to be working on those text-based questions to write some evidence-based responses. All right, see you there in a second. All right, so today our goal is to answer text-based questions with evidence-based responses. One strategy that we've talked about in the past for doing this is the RACE strategy. So this is a writing strategy for answering open-ended questions. We start by restating the question and turning it into a statement. Then we answer the question, sometimes in the same sentence as the restating. Then it's time for us to cite evidence, where we use key details and facts from the text to support our answer. And then finally, we explain our reasoning. So we explain why this text evidence clearly supports the answer. Last week, we worked together on answering the question, according to the History Channel article, what are some additional accomplishments that made Edison famous? So I'm going to walk through kind of what we did here and then give you some step-by-step process that you can try and use today when you answer the text-based questions with evidence-based responses on the text about Latimer. So we started by restating the question. When you restate the question, the first thing you should do is cross out the question word and write the question as a statement. We did that by saying, according to the article, some additional accomplishments that made Edison famous include. We didn't provide an answer because that's the next step. That's the next part. We reread the chunk text and answer the question. This is where we answer all parts, and we did it in the same sentence. Include building a laboratory, a motion picture camera, and a viewing instrument for the motion picture camera. Now it's time for us to cite evidence. This is where we go back through and we find a particular piece of evidence or detail that helps support our answer. Last week, I boxed the part that says, in addition to his talent for invention, Edison was also a successful manufacturer and businessman who was highly skilled at marketing his inventions and himself to the public. When I put this in sentence form, I used one of the sentence starters included in the anchor chart, and it says, the text states that Edison became famous because he was a successful inventor, but also because he knew how to market or share about his inventions. The final thing we need to do is now explain the evidence we chose and explain how it supports the answer we provided. Again, I used one of the sentence starters that I saw in the anchor chart and said, this shows that Edison became famous because he was a successful inventor of many things, but the way he told people about these inventions contributed to him becoming famous. This is my full, complete answer for this question, and I did so by looking at the RACE strategy, keeping it in mind as I wrote, and then following these 4 simple steps right here. So let's go to some questions for this week. The first question that we have, the text-based question, is what is Lewis Latimer well known for? We have the chunk text, which is great, very helpful for providing exactly where we should find the evidence for our response. So let's go ahead and practice this together. I'm going to give you about 1 minute to complete each step. So we're going to start with restating. And remember, we restate by crossing out the question word and rewriting the question as a statement. So take the question, what is Lewis Latimer well known for? Cross out the question word and write the question as a statement. You have 1 minute. The next thing we're going to do is you're going to reread the chunk text and answer the question. So you should have already restated your question as a statement, and now you're going to provide the answer in that same sentence. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to read through the text again and provide a quick answer. Remember, you're not quite at the point where you're citing the text evidence yet. You're just answering the question in your own words. Take 1 minute. Great. Now it's time for you to actually cite specific evidence from the text to support your answer. So go back into the chunk text and find something that specifically explains what Lewis Latimer is well known for. Feel free to go back to an earlier part of this video and use the anchor chart for the sentence starters to use in this citation part. Take 1 minute to cite the evidence you're going to use and use a sentence starter to write your sentence. All right, and now we are going to take some time to explain the evidence that you chose. So, to explain the evidence that you chose, you're going to explain why does that piece of evidence support the answer that you gave in the first sentence. All right, now that we've had some time to go through how we use the RACE strategy and to write some steps for writing an evidence-based response, it's your turn to do the final 2 questions on your own at home. So you can pause it here if you want to use the following steps to help you out, and feel free to go back to the former slide if you need to see the RACE strategy anchor chart. All right. Best of luck, and we're looking forward to seeing those evidence-based responses. awesome job with all of your hard work today creating those evidence-based responses to the text-based questions. Tomorrow, feel free to look up this video and pause it on any of those questions if you need the steps or the anchor chart when you answer the day 3 questions, and also when you reread the text about Lewis Howard Latimer. Before we leave today, I'm going to share with you another one of my favorite books that you may be interested in finding on the public library website or ordering from a local bookshop. This one may be one some of you have heard of. It's called The Hunger Games. So this is a good book if you're looking for a little bit of action, a little bit of romance, and a little bit of mystery. Let me go ahead and read the blurb. It says, "Winning means fame and fortune. Losing means certain death. The Hunger Games have begun. In the ruins of a place once known as North America lies the nation of Panem, a shining capital surrounded by 12 outlying districts. The capital is harsh and cruel and keeps the districts in line by forcing them all to send one boy and one girl between the ages of 12 and 18 to participate in the annual Hunger Games, a fight to the death on live TV. 16-year-old Katniss Everdeen regards it as a death sentence when she steps forward to take her sister's place in the games. But Katniss has been close to dead before, and survival, for her, is second nature. Without really meaning to, she becomes a contender. But if she is to win, she will have to start making choices that weigh survival against humanity and life against love." Great book to check out when you have plenty of time for reading. Also, there's a movie version of it. There's a few movie versions. And I always love comparing books and movies. All right, it was great being with you guys as always. Please know that your teachers love you, miss you, and are looking forward to seeing you again soon. Bye. See you next time.